our brains are like, they're processing the situation that's going on, and then we're listening to our own self-talk, and then we're having reactions to our own self-talk, which is called a meta reaction.
Hi, welcome to the Judy Terrell Show, where I explore topics intended to optimize every body 50, 60, 70, and above.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Judy Terrell Show. And if you are joining me on this episode, then you are in episode number 3 in my 6-part series on how to manage stress, anxiety, and impatience when you are over 50 years old. And this is for men and women both. So I'm going to put a little asterisk here, and I'm going to tell you that the things that I'm presenting aren't, you can be younger. So I have a lot of clients that are 50, 60, 70 and older who say to me, oh, could my daughter use this? She's in her 30s, And so there isn't really, it's not that younger people can't, utilize the techniques that I'm presenting in this series. But the reason why I'm saying it's for over 50 is because I'm 60 years old myself. And so from firsthand experience, as well as knowing the psychological literature and stress management literature and science that's out, as we pass through our 50s and then into our 60s and 70s and beyond, we are living in bodies that are different than what we have known for our youth, 40s, 30s, 20s. Older, it takes me much longer to feel loose enough in the morning when I'm walking around than it did when I was 20 years younger, when I could just bounce out of bed. My mind it's a different processing. I forget words. I'm slower on to take a concept. When a younger Judy would have gotten it quicker and been able to respond, I need a little bit more time. My sister would say to me, you're not responding. Why aren't you listening to me? I'm like, no, I am listening to you. I'm processing what you said, and I need a little more time before I can respond to you with any sort of integrity. Because there's just as we get into older bodies, it's almost like when you bought a house and it was the early 1900s and it was brand new at the time. Everything's shiny new and the plumbing works perfectly and the paint looks beautiful. And now fast forward 100 years, and you're constantly repairing everything because it's just older wood. The paint is now peeling. It's been wet. It's been exposed to the elements. And the plumbing, the pipes have gotten rusted, and there's compromising to the elements of which it's made from due to age, due to exposure. So that's what it's like when you're living in a body as it's going over 50. There's just more wear and tear from the decades that you've been alive. The processes that we're able to the chemical processes of rejuvenation that we're able to keep up with, the needs for repair when you were younger. There's now more need for repair, and the processes are just, they can't, there's so much more to do that your body is striving to try and keep up with all that needs to be rejuvenated and repaired. So it starts to fall back. That's part of the aging process, according to David Sinclair, who's the leading researcher on longevity and aging. But, point being, when we're 50, 60, 70, our bodies are different. Our cognitive processing, of our brains is compromised. And so things that are causing stress and anxiety and impatience that are out in the environment that we have to interface with are now coming into an entity that already is compromised because there's, stress and anxiety and impatience with living in our own bodies. So that is why I am targeting the 50 plus market for the skills that I'm presenting for managing stress and anxiety and impatience. But like I said, these can be applied to younger people as well. But the metaphors and the stories that I'm using in this series are more appropriate to 50 plus. All right. So that said, this is number 3. And so what I'm doing in this series is, when I ask people in one-on-one coaching that I'm doing with them, so what do you do to manage your stress and anxiety? I'll get answers like, I schedule a massage, I exercise, I go down to the beach, take a walk, I do a hike in the mountains, a variety of things, all of which are great and desirable. You want to schedule those things in. And they work. They do help to, calm you down. When you can stand back and look at an ocean, it's kind of perspective building in the sense of whatever is causing you stress. When you're looking at this expansive body of water, it kind of brings back into perspective, like that your stress is maybe not so monumental, that it's temporal, it's going to change and shift, and the expansiveness of the ocean or the view off the top of a mountain helps you to build perspective, to help to calm you down. But what do you do when it's 4:00 in the afternoon and, you've got your inbox is this high in your desk and you got an hour left to work or 2 hours, and then you got to go pick up your grandson or your child and you just you're feeling that stress and anxiety come up because you don't have enough time to get everything done. You can't excuse yourself and go up, to the beach. So the things that I want to present in this series, and again, I'm on number 3 here, so I've already done 2, are things that you would be able to access at any moment in any time, 24/7. At 11 o'clock at night when you can't sleep and you're spun up. When you're transitioning from your job and you come home and now you've got to, clean the house and cook dinner and make sure your kids are getting or the grandkids are getting their homework done. You're at work and you're facing the day and you walk in and there's the project deadline has been moved up 2 days and, like these are kind of these moments. What do you do in the very moment when you have to still keep performing, but your stress level just went into the red zone, right? So the skills and tools I'm presenting would be able to be utilized at any moment, at any time, and have been shown to have therapeutic effect in that they do calm down your nervous system. They calm down your anxiety level, and they're effective. All right, so for this episode, what I'm going to present has a horrible name, and I actually named it. But I want to keep the name, even though it's esoterically kind of like because it's a kind of like the kind of thing you want to avoid. And so the technique that I'm presenting is what I call word vomit on paper. So vomit is the word that's kind of like, questionable here, but, I could also call it a word purge on paper, but it really when I explain this a little bit more to you, you're going to see why I kept with the vomit, word. So when we get spun up and we're very anxious, and it could be any number of, infinite number of reasons why or situations why. But what happens is our brains are they're processing the situation that's going on, and then we're listening to our own self-talk, and then we're having reactions to our own self-talk, which is called a meta reaction in your own brain. And then you have an emotional response to your reaction to your thought about the situation. And then you have a reaction to the reaction of the reaction. You see where I'm going. It's almost like the Matrix, right? But this is all going on in your own brain. And so, you can say, I'm processing it in my brain. I'm trying to talk myself down. And what's actually happening is you're getting more and more escalated. And it's all in this kind of enclosed container, which is getting more and more spun up, but the more you're thinking about it. All right. So word vomit is you take a piece of paper, okay, and you take a pen and you excuse yourself from the situation for a moment, go in the bathroom if you need to, sit at your desk, close the door, go in your car, pull over on the side of the road, no matter where you are, you can excuse yourself for a moment, or just sit where you are and just do this, but don't show it to anybody. So what you're doing then is, it's also could be thought of as like a stream of consciousness, but I really want you to understand that this is a purge. This is a vomiting out of whatever is going on in your mind, okay? Like you're not editing it. You're not going to try and, change it so that if somebody reads it, because as soon as you're done with this, you rip it up, you burn it, you flush it down the toilet, rip it up. Don't leave it in the garbage because someone might find it, because there might be something in there that might offend somebody. But you're doing a complete, whatever's going on in your mind, you are writing it down verbatim. So it might be, damn it, I cannot believe that XYZ just said that to me. Who does this person think they are? Blah, 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 right? Unbelievable. Like, my boss, what do they think? I don't have to sleep. I have no other part of my life. Right? And you're just literally writing down the stream of consciousness thoughts that are going on in your mind and your reactions to the thoughts, your self-talk, and you're writing it down on paper, okay? So what's different about writing it down on paper versus having it go on in your mind is that when it's going on in your mind, like I just already alluded to, it's kind of like in this contained container, and it doesn't have objectivity. You're really subjectively, and then you're reflecting on what you just said in your brain, and you have reaction, emotional reaction to that, and then another self-talk, sentences, and then you're reacting to that. When you write it down on paper, it's like getting it out of your enclosed container, which is affecting your nervous system. And you're revved up, you're ready for fight or flight, and you're getting more and more anxious, and you're getting more and more stressed, and maybe more and more impatient. But when you write it down on paper, it's almost like, my metaphor is like if you had a Coke bottle or a plastic one, and you shook it up, and you felt the bottle, you could feel the pressure from the shaking of it up, the carbon dioxide in there, right? But if you put little pinholes in it, it's just enough to release that pressure, and so you can shake up the bottle, but like the pressure inside it, you can feel it's a completely different feeling in the plastic. It's not as, you can feel the pressure from the inside pushing out on the outside, but when you put the pinholes in, that pressure it's been alleviated. And that is exactly what happens when you write this down on paper and you get it out of your own mind. And then it's like now it's an objective reality over here, and you've minimized the reflecting in this closed container, which is now spinning up your nervous system. Another way that this works is, and I use this frequently, when I have a huge amount, it seems like an impossible amount of to-do things that I have to get done, and I'm kind of getting very, very anxious about it in my own being, what I will do then is I'll grab a piece of scrap paper and I'll actually just list out, I need to get gas in the car. I need to return the Amazon, order to UPS. I need to call this client. I need to return the phone calls from the ones that are on my emails or my voice message. I have 4 texts that I have to answer. I have to make sure that I get the studio set up for, the next class, and I'm just basically listing all the things that are in my mind that I know I have to do. But by getting it on paper, it calms down my nervous system. It will calm down your nervous system. And it's not like doing this is going to make any of them go away. Okay, that's just the interesting part of this. It's not like when you vomit on paper that it's changed any of the situation that revved you up. It is just decreasing the stress on your internal nervous system and getting it out. And the listing that I just talked about, what a secondary gain to that is once you got the list, what I do is then when I start to do some of the things and I get to cross it off the list, there's a sense of a positive affect in the situation that seems like I'm helpless and hopeless to be able to have any power over. Like there's too much to do. And then I'm crossing 2 off. Oh, okay, that's good. I got those done. Whew, that makes me feel good. And that also calms down my nervous system. All right, so third technique that can be done anytime, anywhere, although I would say if you're driving, pull over. Don't do it as you're driving if you're going to word vomit, okay? But, it's word vomit on paper. Just take whatever the thoughts are, just write them down, stream of consciousness, curses included, names included. But when you're done, like I said, rip it up into little pieces because you don't even have to save. This is not a journal. You don't save it. It is purely to get the pressure out, dispose of it, burn it so no one can read it. But you'll see that it's had its effect on your nervous system, and you will have used this as a tool to decrease your anxiety and stress and impatience in the moment. Is it a permanent fix? No. Is it something that you can do frequently and all the time to help to manage these situations that come up or the states that you get in your own mind, even if on the outside there's no one thing that's just spun you up. It's just like your own spinning up in your own mind. Yes, this really does work. I've been using this with my clients one-on-one, in my health coaching, in my therapy sessions, in my weight loss coaching. So in my how to manage anxiety as an athlete who's competing in races, it's doesn't matter what this thing is that's causing the anxiety and the stress. These techniques apply to anything. Okay, and they work. So my goal with all my video series that I'm putting out is to make the second 50 years of our life even better than our first 50, hence my 50 plus target audience, of which I'm solid in at age 60. I'm a full decade in. And so we want to make the second 50 even better than the first 50. And I appreciate your watching and viewing, and I welcome any comments. If you find that these are valuable, I have a website with a lot more tools available that you should take a look at and peruse through and see if there's some other things that might be of interest to you and of help to you. And I appreciate your watching and listening. And I hope to see you again in episode number 4 on this series. And in the meantime, be well.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And if you'd like to have access to some of my additional resources, I can be found at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on my website, www.judyterrell.com.